In this video, I'm going to be covering Ysabelle. So Ysabelle is an S tier fire slime. It's actually the only fire slime you can get in the game if you're a free-to-play player. If you're willing to pay money, you can get Volcan later. But as far as free-to-play goes, Ysabelle's the only option you have as far as purchasing it with gems. So Ysabelle, and I'm going to go over these just milestone level up abilities. Then I'm going to go over the unique skills, active skills, passive skills, and then the actual gameplay here. And then at the end of the video, I'm kind of just going to do a overall analysis of whether Ysabelle's actually worth getting or not. So for Ysabelle's level 10 ability, we get 10% bonus critical chance. Now, 10% bonus critical chance is a good skill to have, just because if you can deal critical damage more often, you're going to be dealing a lot more damage, just because when you look at how much critical multiplier affects your overall damage, that's 1500% of your regular attack. So if you can do critical hits, that's going to be very helpful. Now, one thing to note, actually having over 100% critical chance is helpful, because later on in the game, enemies will also have critical resistance, which reduces the percentage of the time that you're going to be able to deal critical hits. So that's where this does kind of fall off a bit. So if I look at Ysabelle with 10% bonus critical chance, actually even compared to like ARP, that ARP has for his level 175 ability, we have 35% critical chance. So ARP's going to just have a lot higher of a critical chance rate than Ysabelle. Now going on to the level 25 ability, so we have 40% bonus critical damage. This isn't a ton, just in the scale of critical damage period. So right here I have 1523 critical damage, and 40% isn't gonna make that big of a difference. Now getting on to the level 50, 75, and 100 abilities, this is where Ysabelle is kind of cool, and I talk about in another video just about combat power, but Ysabelle gets a ton of attack. So we get 40%, 60%, and then 80%. So in total, we're getting 180% bonus attack, which is really helpful. We go and compare Ysabelle equipped. We have 1782 attack. We are a bit short on HP at 1,000 and, so when I said 1782, 1.78 million. For HP, we're just over a million, like compared to Ysabelle. So Ysabelle's going to have more HP, so 1,200, 1.23 million HP, and then 1.43 million attack. So Ysabelle is definitely high on that attack end, which attack as far as combat power is very important. Now for Ysabelle's level 125 ability, we get plus 10% bonus attack speed. Early, this might just make a bit more of a difference. Late game, it does still help. But it's just not super crazy. So if I go and look at Ysabelle right now with that 10% attack bonus, I'm at 12 attacks per second. If I go and level Ysabelle down just real quick, we can see how much that 10% bonus actually makes late game. So we'll go to Ysabelle, then I'm going to actually just reset Ysabelle's level and then hop into that battle. My other stats will go down a bit, but we do see my attack did decrease to 11.4. So definitely that 10% attack bonus does help. It's just not anything super game breaking, but in general you are going to want as high of an attack speed as you can, as it just is going to just boost your overall damage output. For level 150, in battle slimes increase damage dealt to elite enemies, so this is only going to affect the elite enemies. So like on chapter 12, we can see like these lizard guys that come in every once in a while. Those are going to be the elite enemies. These regular just kind of skeleton, or not skeleton, but these little soldier dudes, those are going to be normal enemies. We're not going to get any bonus damage just from that level 150 ability. But with how that ability works, so it is for in-battle slime. So if I'm using just Ysabelle, then I'm going to be getting 10% bonus damage to elite enemies. If I'm in hard mode, then I'm using Ysabelle and another slime. I'm going to get, 2 in-battle slimes times that 10% bonus. So I'm going to be getting a 20% bonus to elite enemies. This is the one case where for free-to-play players, this is where Ysabelle can be a bit useful as far as, I mean, really not. The problem is, even in hard mode, what you're going to use a lot of times is like Yolanda and then Yamlet. And then once you're actually able to get Win, which should become available for free-to-play players relatively soon, like Yolanda and Win, or Win and Yamlet, those are going to be your popular combinations. Ysabelle doesn't necessarily fit there, but with the just addition of Hell mode, where you can use 3 slimes in battle, Ysabelle might actually just become a little more popular, especially with that elite just damage bonus. So if you're in Hell mode and you're using 3 slimes, we're going to get a 30% bonus damage to elite enemies. So that is one where you kind of got to keep your eye on. That actually might just become better with the new addition. But currently, and especially in normal mode, it doesn't make that big of a difference. For the level 175 bonus, we have 40% just bonus double attack damage. This is always nice just because it is an additional attack with working with your double attack chance and double attack damage percentage. But that 40%, it's, again, not super game breaking or anything. And then for the level 200 ability, we have the unique skill Living Bomb, which I'll get to in a second as far as the passive. So for the unique active skill, we have Purgatory Flame, summons flames. They last for 6 seconds and they deal AoE damage 1000% of your attack per second to enemies within the area. So you cast it, or whether it's auto cast or you manually cast it, it hits an area, and then any enemies within that area are going to get burned, including ones that just end up walking into the area, which I'll showcase that in just a minute. Now for this second just passive skill, Magma Fireball, enemies attacked by Ysabelle will suffer a burning effect, losing HP 300% times your attack per second. So anytime Ysabelle attacks an enemy, it's going to deal burning damage. And then this level 200 ability, that unique skill, Living Bomb, enemies who die under the burn effect are going to explode and then deal AoE damage, 10% of the enemy's HP. So that can be just good additional damage that Ysabelle will deal. So hopping into the gameplay here, I do have Ysabelle equipped. I'm going to slow down the battle. We're not going to really be able to see that level 150 ability just because it's really hard to measure. If you watch it very carefully, use a slime with similar attack, and just overall stats to Ysabelle, and then watch it attack an elite enemy, we'll be able to see that. So first off, I'm going to just showcase this active ability. So I slowed it down to 1x speed, and then I'm going to click the active ability. You can see it kind of pauses the battle. I'm going to put it right here, and then we're going to see it just pops up there, and then any enemies that walk into that area are going to get dealt burn damage. So you saw it a little there. I mean, you can see that burn damage isn't a ton just in comparison to how much damage your slime actually deals. I mean, your slime is going to be dealing the bulk of your damage. Alright, now for that second passive ability, so any enemies that Ysabelle attacks are going to be dealt burn damage over time. And you can kind of see this when you look at the enemies, like that enemy in the middle right there. After Ysabelle attacks them once, you can see over time, even when Ysabelle is no longer attacking them, again, it's kind of hard to see. Once again, on that bottom side, you saw the guy right on the edge of the attack range. Once there's a gap in between Ysabelle attacking them, you can see them, they are taking burn damage, even when they aren't being attacked, which is just helpful. That's going to be extra damage dealt. But typically, I mean, the main way you're going to kill them is just going to be with your basic attacks. Now for that level 200 passive, where enemies that are under the burn effect are going to just deal little explosions. We can kind of see those explosions, and they leave a little mark on the battlefield as soon as they explode. That's going to deal AoE damage. It's just an additional damage booster. Nothing too crazy there. Now, just overall, as far as Ysabelle goes, like I mentioned earlier, realistically, it doesn't necessarily fit into any super crazy meta. In general, especially on normal mode, just early on, you're going to be wanting to use Yolanda. Yolanda is just going to be the best slime. And then once you get into hard mode, adding Yamlet with Yolanda. And then once Win actually becomes available for free-to-play players, Win's going to be just a really good second or third slime as well. So aside from pushing for combat power, which I talk about in another video, that really kind of, that's the end of Ysabelle's just really meta capabilities as far as in the free-to-play arena. Even pay-to-play, I mean, for paid players, Ysabelle just isn't that important to get at all, really. But for free-to-play players, Ysabelle can have a couple of kind of niche uses. Hopefully that just develops more later on. But with a lot of these other S-tier slimes, too, that's just kind of how it works. I mean, they're not super important or critical to get. The one thing I'll note as far as combat power, and then even just as far as usability in general, so Ysabelle's one of those slimes where early on, if you only have like mythic gear or stuff, just because, so Ysabelle has that 180% bonus attack, but early on with the mythic gear, lower level artifacts, that plus 180% attack isn't going to just be that beneficial. So especially early on, Yolanda's going to just be a lot better just because of all the increased base stats Yolanda has. Now, super late game, if you're free to play, you have a lot of permanent buffs. You have high level, just mythic +3 equipment. Then Ysabelle can become a bit more viable. But just really, once again, late game, Yolanda, Win, those are going to be your key ones. Ysabelle just falls into an awkward place, unfortunately. But that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions.